Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Amna Munir and I'm here to present my Capstone project from the Chief Minister Punjab Climate Leadership Development Internship Program. The project is an assessment of ambient air quality in District Gujrat built by combining official AQI data from Punjab EPA with my own field observations during a 12-week internship program. What I want to show you today isn't just what I measured, but what happens when you put field evidence and monitoring data side by side instead of looking at either one alone. Air pollution in Pakistan doesn't come from a single source. It builds up from several directions at once, and Gujarat is a good example of that. The district has a strong industrial base, brick kilns, ceramic units, rice mills, and tire manufacturing, all of which release particulate matter and gaseous emissions as part of normal emissions. Alongside that, you have the usual pressures of a growing urban district, traffic, vehicular combustion, and general urban activity, all adding to the same airshed. And overseeing all of it in one dedicated monitoring station run by EPA Punjab, located at the Deputy Commissioner's office, that station is really the only continuous official window into what's happening in the air above the district. Everything else is a snapshot. So that's true the setting, multiple emission sources, one instrument watching all of them at once. That's the environment this project is trying to make sense of. Here's why the project really starts and where the central question comes from. During my inspection, the facilities I visited looked compliant by every indicator I was trained to check. Zigzag kiln technology was in use, blowers were functioning, crushed coal was the fuel source, and the chimney emissions were white, which visually is what regulators should be as look as a sign of complete combustion. But when I pulled the official AQI data from the same period, District Gujrat's air quality wasn't improving. It was steadily getting worse and worse month after month from April right through the July. So you have two things that are supposed to move together and they didn't. Site level indicators said that the things were fine. District level air quality said otherwise. That mismatch between what inspections showed and what the AQI actually revealed is the central finding this entire study is built around. Everything from here is really an attempt to explain that gap. To investigate that gap properly, I set 4 specific objectives. First, analyze the AQI trends monthly and daily across the study period. Second, document the operational and emission-related practices I actually observed during the instructions. Third, compare the two data sets against each other and explain what's happening chemically, why the compliant-looking practices don't automatically translate into clean air. And fourth, turn all of it into recommendations that are grounded in evidence, not just assumptions. So in short, measure, observe, explain, and recommend. That's the shape of the whole study. Before any of that data collection could happen, I needed to actually understand the ground I was standing on. My internship ran for 12 weeks across District Gujrat, a district with a genuinely dense industrial footprint. Brick kilns, rice mills, ceramic and pottery industries, tire manufacturing, and a large number of small and medium enterprises all operating within the same air basin. Over those 12 weeks, I took part in industrial and brick kiln inspections alongside EPA officers, visited the AQI monitoring station myself to understand how the data is actually captured, and joined environmental awareness activities such as school visits, plantation drives, and waste segregation outreach. That combination mattered. It meant that by the time I started analyzing AQI numbers, I wasn't reading them cold. I had already stood inside the facilities that were supposedly producing them. To keep this structured and defensive, I followed 4 clear steps. I started with EPA-guided field inspections with every site visit geotagged for accuracy. Then I collected the official AQI data directly from Punjab EPA sources, the mobile application and the web portal. After that, I analyzed the trends in Microsoft Excel, looking specifically at monthly averages, daily peaks, and the shape of the trend line over time. And finally, I compared the field findings against the AQI patterns, which is where the recommendations actually come from, not from theory, but from the comparison. That's the backbone of the whole study. Field observation and official monitoring data checked against each other at every step rather than trusted separately. Good research doesn't rely on one kind of evidence, so I deliberately used both primary and secondary sources. The primary data was mine, inspection notes, geotagged photographs, and direct field observation records collected on site. The secondary data came from three places: the AQI Punjab mobile application, the official Punjab EPA AQI website, and IQ Air's historical air quality records, which helped me cross-check the government figures against an independent dataset. All of the quantitative analysis was then done in Microsoft Excel. The reason this matters is simple. If I'd relied on inspections alone, I would have missed the district level trend entirely. And if I have relied on AQI numbers alone, I would have no explanation for why they were moving the way we are. Using both is actually what made the findings possible. These are some of the sites I visited across the district over the 12 weeks: brick kilns, a rice mill, ceramic and pottery units, tire manufacturing facilities, along with the EPA Gujrat office and the AQI monitoring station at the DC Gujrat building. Each visit added something different. At the brick kilns, I was checking stacking technique, which is zigzag, fuel type, and chimney emission color. At the rice mill and ceramic units, I was looking at the combustion practices and general operational discipline. And at the monitoring station and EPA office, I was seeing how regulatory and data collection side actually works day to day, not just how it's described on paper. Together, these visits are really the foundation the rest of my findings sit on. Without them, the AQI numbers on the next few slides would just be numbers with no context behind them. This is the ambient air quality monitoring station for District Gujrat. It's mounted on the rooftop of the Deputy Commissioner office. It runs continuously, measuring 6 parameters at once: PM2.5, PM10, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and carbon monoxide. That data is transmitted directly to Punjab EPA and displayed publicly through the AQI Punjab platform, updated in near real time. I want to flag this station specifically because every single AQI figure I'm about to show you traces back to this one instrument. It's the anchor point for the entire results section. This is where the two halves of my project actually meet. Looking at the AQI trend from April to June 2026, the pattern is impossible to miss. The monthly average climbed from 95 in April to 170 in June. The single highest daily reading during the entire study period touched 380. And I want to be clear, this wasn't a one-day spike that skewed the average. It was a continuous, steady climb across the full 3 months. By June, the monthly average has exceeded the moderate air quality threshold by 70%. And here's the part that surprised me the most while I was actually writing this up. This deterioration was happening during the exact same weeks my field inspections were recording compliant conditions at the facilities I visited: proper stacking, functioning blowers, and light-colored emissions. So the results answered one question clearly: yes, air quality in the district got measurably worse. But they immediately raised a second and a harder question. If the facilities looked fine every time I checked them, why was the air not fine? The answer, I think, is the district level air quality was never going to be explained by any single facility, and honestly, it was unrealistic to expect it to be. Multiple sources are acting on the district at the same time. Brick kilns, rice mills, ceramics, pottery, tire manufacturing, vehicular traffic, and everyday urban combustion are all releasing pollutants into the same airshed simultaneously. No one of them alone would push the AQI to 380. Together, their emissions are cumulative. They stack on top of each other in a way that a single site inspection simply can't capture. On top of that, the timing matters more than people usually assume. April through June in summer is Punjab. Higher industrial activity, more heating and combustion-related processes, and meteorological conditions that tend to trap pollutants closer to the ground instead of letting them disperse upwards and outwards. So even emissions that stayed roughly constant at the source level ended up more concentrated in air people were actually breathing. Which means compliance at one facility can be completely genuine and district level air quality can still decline because a district isn't one facility. It's the sum of everything happening in it at once, layered together with the weather conditions of that particular season. That, to me, is the core message of this study. Individual facility compliance is necessary, but on its own, it's not sufficient to guarantee good air quality across an entire district. Monitoring data and field observations need to be read together continuously, not treated as two separate checkboxes. That's the only way to actually see the full picture instead of partial one. So pulling all of that together, this study demonstrated that combining official AQI monitoring with EPA-guided field observations gives a far more honest picture of air quality than either source could give on its own. Inspected industries generally demonstrated practices associated with compliance, and yet the AQI kept climbing throughout the study period, which tells us that multiple emission sources were interacting in ways no single inspection could ever catch. That points to one clear implication going forward. Air quality management in a district like Gujarat needs to be continuous, not periodic, and it needs to treat the district as one interconnected system rather than a checklist of individual sites to tick off one at a time. Based on everything the data and the fieldwork showed me, here's what I recommend going forward. Keep AQI monitoring continuous so pollution trends are caught early and interventions can be evaluated properly. Strengthen industrial inspections so compliance is verified in ongoing practice, not just recorded once and assumed to hold. Encourage cleaner industrial technologies so emissions are reduced at the source rather than managed after the fact. Expand AQI monitoring coverage beyond a single station so the data actually reflects conditions across the whole district, not just one rooftop. Build public awareness because accountability works better when the community understands that the number means and why they matter. And keep investing in district level research so we can eventually separate out exactly how much source industrial, vehicular, seasonal is contributing to the total. None of these recommendations are complicated on their own, but together they directly address the exact gap this project uncovered between site-level compliance and district-level air quality. That's my project, a district where facilities looked compliant but the air told a different story, and a case for why monitoring data and field observations need to be read together, not apart, if we actually want to understand what's happening to the air we breathe. Thank you for your time. I would be happy to take any questions.